well. Hasn't today been an awesome. The mind truly is the matter. So now we're going to have a live. We are live on Facebook as well as YouTube if you'd like to share it or re-listen to the content. We appreciate you all staying around for the live discussion. It is very important as an organization, as we're advocating for these causes, that we bring the community into it. And what better way to do that than through social media. So I appreciate Noise coming to live stream this, and it's going to again be on Noise Omaha, N-O-I-S-E Omaha, YouTube as well as their Facebook. So if you can't catch it live, which I would hope you're not because you guys are here, but if you want to tweet about it and let others know what's going on, that is very important. Social media is definitely something that's very popular. If you think about it, I know when computers and technology was first introduced, it was MySpace, Black Planet, just kind of going way back to dial-up days, and I remember it was so this generation knows nothing about dial-up. Waiting for a response is a totally different, and that's one of the questions that we do have on as it relates to mental health and what we're doing with that social media piece. But before we get started in that, my name is Angel Martin, and I am a member of the 100 Black Women of Omaha. And I appreciate you all for letting us, again, stay for the live town hall discussion, roundtable discussion. And we're just going to have a true conversation. And we have a panel of guests that are going to also introduce themselves. They all presented today, but for those that do not know, and for our listening and our viewing audience, we would like you to introduce yourselves.
Okay. I'm Duncan, and I present today on African Americans and addiction in Black community. I'm presently Senior Director at Charles Drew Health Center. I've been here in the Omaha community since 2000.
Hi, I'm Janet Tay. I'm a psychiatrist. I live in Sarasota, Florida, and did the keynote about mental health and awareness of disparities.
I'm Donna Polk, and I'm the CEO of Nebraska Urban Indian Health Coalition, and I presented on how to select a treatment facility.
Hello, my name is Donna Stewart, and I am a licensed psychologist here in Omaha at Boys Town in our North and South Omaha offices. I've been in the Omaha community for 18 years. I presented today on domestic violence and the signs and symptoms of childhood trauma.
Oh, and I forgot to say I'm a licensed mental health practitioner. And me too.
I'm not, and I don't play one on TV either. But I know my role, and we're going to stick to that. So my first question is, African American males are the #1 killer of African American men and overpopulated in prisons. And the track record needs to be clean to address underlying causes that lead to this outcome in negative lifestyles, addictions, poverty, childhood trauma, violence, violent crime. How do all these connect from talk about it to be about it?
Well, I mean, the facts are right, that 63% of homicides between people 18 to 45 are black crime primarily. But I think, key factor #1 that we don't talk about certainly is conflict resolution, how we teach people to walk away, and how being a man is not defined by how strong you are necessarily, but your ability to make the right decision in the right time, and that you're not a punk, you're not anything else if you choose to not engage. The The other is that, they're just saying that hurt people. And so parenting, we know who's at risk when they give birth, in terms of whether they've been victims of child abuse or if they're in relationships that involve domestic violence, and really trying to coach and teach parenting skills about how to discipline their children and not punish their children. When you discipline your children, you teach them. When you punish them, you inflict some kind of pain. And the difference in that, schools, the way that some teachers and people in authority talk to our kids, addressing all those factors, and not to excuse violence, because gun violence in particular is a major public health issue. But I think that it's a problem. It's a problem when you don't see yourself as worthy, and you don't see your other person you're with as worthy, and feel like you have the right to take their life. So, we were talking about Chicago. I was talking about Chicago earlier to Sergeant Hodges, talking about Sergeant Hodges. My gosh, Chicago, big city, and lots of money, and they can't figure it out. So, and in Omaha, you guys have had a lot of recent homicides of young people. I honestly wish I knew the answer, but I think it's looking at not just from the point of violence, but backtracking and trying to make some steps at every intervention.
And I would say events like this, organizations like this, that is a step in the right direction. So give yourselves a round of applause, and also for your employers, and if you work for yourself, taking the time out to really invest in things like this. And I think that's important, just word of mouth, and it's a different perspective.
I'd like to add to that especially when we talk about mass incarceration. Mass incarceration is not just simply a matter of people randomly being picked up and incarcerated. Certainly, our population, we're over-policed, we're over-investigated and arrested, and then ultimately we're over-sentenced. We know this as a fact. This is no longer debatable. This is a fact that is the case. And so some of the numbers are as a result of the war on drugs, which was actually, when we really break it down, is a war on people in a form of social control. But just speaking to the solutions of that, I think that's important that we focus on solutions. And so I think some of the gaps that we have in our community surrounding spirituality, when we look back, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, some of the issues that we have now we didn't have then in our communities. But we, at that time, the churches were the center of the community for a lot of things, political, social, rites of passage, and those type of things that gave fabric and texture to the community. And because we no longer, as a community, as a people, are centered and focused on churches and spirituality as somewhat of a solution, we haven't found very many things to replace that. So the whole ideas of values and what's important and priorities and dignity and life dignity and a sense of self-respect that somewhat overcomes this whole idea of you're inferior in some way, shape, form, or fashion. We haven't found suitable ways to replace that. And so really looking at how do we form our values? Where do we get that from? What do we do now if we're not going to rely on more spiritual ways? How are we going to do it secularly? I think that's a big missing piece that we're kind of overlooking as to how we're going to instill those things in our communities, especially when the family structure is somewhat fragmented. In addition to that, one last piece that I think is a good solution is that our children being taught early that their identity goes beyond their experience in America as Black children. They have an identity, they have a history that goes beyond the American experience, that ties back to Africa, that gives some sense of who you are in the world, what place you hold, what your heritage is, and those roots. I think we also underestimate the value of that knowledge in our children. And I think when we tie those two things together, then that would be somewhat of a solution to diminish some of these issues.
So my next question, and anyone can take this one, as we advocate for Black girls and women, we know that the experience for Black girls and women is different than it is for Black men, and that question was specifically related to the Black men. What would you all suggest we do when we do work with Black women and children, and specifically Black girls, because they have a lot of different things that they go through on a daily basis? So how do we encourage them when we have this conversation about mental health?
Well, I just want to just say something about the Black male thing. Growing up, I used to hear stories about the Klan, and I wondered why people didn't do anything about the Klan. But I could understand it more because the Klan was the police chief, the mayor, whatever. I don't understand now why Black lives only matter if you're killed by a white person. I don't understand that at all. And I think it's easy to say, well, it's the over-policing. Well, I live in West Omaha, and I welcome seeing the police because the neighborhood has changed dramatically. And I just think that we need to take more responsibility and more control of our kids. Because we don't make guns, we don't make bullets, we don't even sell guns. So where are they coming from? And until we care enough about ourselves to say, you cannot come on my block and kill people, then it's going to keep happening. Because there's a method to the madness. And all you have to look at is who's in the White House to understand what that method is.
All right.
So I'll address the question regarding Black females. Black women, Black girls grow up to be Black women. And not to be biased, Black women tend to be the backbone of our families. And teaching young girls from a young age how to take care of themselves first is going to be critical to help with improving the mental health of our children that come from the Black women and the Black men. We teach our girls, well, we teach most of our girls, I still need to teach mine, how to do laundry, how to cook, how to do typical things needed to maintain a household or a family, but we forget about taking care of ourselves and our mental health. And we have to model that as Black women for our Black girls so that they can replicate that and that we can reinstill that value in the children and the girls to come generations on. And I think that's where we start. We teach them the importance of mental health, as well as we teach them the importance of physical health and how those are actually connected, and the importance of caring for themselves so that they can care for their families as they grow older. I think that's where we start, that's a very critical piece, and that we often forget that because as women, we want to take care of everyone else. We're nurturers, but we forget to take care of ourselves. And we can't take care of others to the best of our abilities if we broke down, if we're tired, and we have to take care of ourselves first. I always tell people that I work with a simple thing that they can relate to if they've ever ridden a plane. What does if you're paying attention, what does the stewardess or the airline attendant, what do they say when it's time to put on that air mask or that oxygen mask if you need it? Are you supposed to, right, you have to do it first because then you can't care for the minor or the senior that's next to you. And so we have to remember that concept. Take care of ourselves first so that we can take care of our girls, and they'll learn to do that for the girls and the boys that they produce.
I agree with everything you said. So I have 4 daughters, and I remember my oldest is 31, I have twins, 29 and 26-year-old. I remember my 5-year-old was walking, we were walking like Toys R Us or something, and she pointed to a doll, it was a white doll, and she said, I want that doll, because it looks like me. And I was like, No, it doesn't. And I never, like, I only bought my girls black dolls and black books for them. And my point about that is I think we can't get too comfortable, as you said, about identity. And it's constantly teaching history, teaching our value, and reinforcing that in many ways as role models. Because our girls, not only our girls, but our boys are looking at how that plays out. So even today, we went to Malcolm X, to the birthplace, and finding out the history of blacks in Omaha, which, I mean, I didn't know. And everywhere I go, and even going to the museum yesterday, McLean, Washington, I think, McLean Thomas, the artist, has a picture of a black woman that says, baby, I'm ready. And then she wrote that basically, like, women do not need permission to be present. Right? And I think that is something critical. And the other thing is, as black women, we have to teach our black girls about money and how to save money. Because I think the average black woman has less than $100 in her savings account. And as black people, we have less ownership of home, and we can't make money taboo. My parents never talked to me about money when I was growing up. And we have to talk to them about jobs that earn money, how to save money no matter what your job is, and the importance of money early.
So just like the mind is the matter, we also have our annual money matters, where we address these very important topics. So we're hitting all the topics and really get into those points because I still struggle with savings. I still struggle with it, but I know the importance of it. So at that point, I know better, so I am consciously doing better. All jokes aside, and as a community, we don't like to talk about money. If it's missing, we don't like to talk about it at all. I mean, we just don't, but we know things cost money. So, I mean, but for some reason, we live in Never Land, a monopoly land. We don't like to deal with those truths and the realities of it. But growing up as a little black girl, all my dolls look just like me, like intentionally. American Girl doll does a really good job of, you can actually get one custom made. My niece, but they're a little pricey as well. But it's a lot of small businesses. Must be grandpa laughing, but it's a lot of small businesses that, and it's a lot of doll companies where the hair looks, you can touch it and it's just different. So it's a lot of things that we can do. It's a lot of solutions out there. And that's what our social media is for. And I'm just gonna segue to our next question.
Go ahead.
From the male perspective.
Sure.
I have two daughters, and Rita and Marla, and they're probably listening right now. So to them, they taught me about what's important for me to add to their lives. I learned from them. I didn't learn from the book, and I didn't learn from my training. But I think young women that do not have a father figure in their lives, that's a significant missing part from the standpoint of mentorship, etc. But what they taught me is that I would be the first one to teach them what it meant to be loved by a male with unconditional, with no strings attached, no performance attached. They don't have to do anything, have to give up anything. You see what I mean? That it's only the male that can teach them that male kind of love that's real and rich. And so they taught me that, and I've carried that understanding to my grandchildren. And so I have a granddaughter named Lelia, and she's my princess. And we maintain that, and I realize by maintaining that with her, I'm helping her to understand what it means to be loved. And so she will recognize love when she sees it and when she gets older. So hopefully that adds something to the male piece.
Absolutely, that's very important. Your dad is your first one, so that's a blessing when that is the case. So I agree with that, and I thank you for adding that to the discussion. We're going to go ahead and wrap up because we are going to be mindful of people's time. But the final question is, what research is being done on the impact of social media and electronic devices on the mental health of our youth? There seems to be an epidemic of mental illness and suicide amongst this adolescent and young adult population. is there a link or is there any studies that we can look to? I know for me as an adult, I had to take a social media break, and it was lovely. I'm not gonna say which social media outlet it was, but it was just really good just to really be present in the moment. And if we capture a picture, we do it. We don't, we don't. If it's on Snapchat, it goes away for so.
Well, one of the things I was exposed to is this whole idea of multitasking. And so I think media and devices kind of contributes to that we can email and be on the computer and answer the phone and do all these things all at the same time. And the research says that that's not possible. That what we think we can do with multitasking, that we really can't do. What we're doing is training ourselves, our brains, to only deal with short periods of time and paying attention. So by actually doing all this multitasking, our attention span is getting shorter and shorter as a result of us doing that. So that's one thing that I'm a multitasking type person, but I try to be mindful and put some stuff down so I can somewhat gain back that short attention span that I have.
And to that point, I think it is an illusion of multitasking, because what the brain basically likes to do is one thing at a time. And so what studies have shown is that the best thing to do is do that one thing and go to something else, because when you leave a lot of things undone, then you feel more unsettled, more stressed, and in some cases can get depressed. So it's better to finish one thing. The American Association of Pediatrics has a lot of good research about, like, basically no social media, no screen time from 0 to, I think it's 8, like no screen time. And the impact that that's having is our kids are not connected. They can't process emotions. They feel more stressed. And so there's no substitute for that family time, that face-to-face time, teaching them how to process their emotions. And the other thing with social media and older kids is there's a lot of bullying that happens with social media, and your kids aren't necessarily telling you it's happening. And so to really, you're the one paying for the phone, right? So either they allow, even though our kids are probably better than us at having other accounts, but they need to allow you to look at it and you need to monitor it. And I guarantee at night, our kids are not sleeping because under the covers they're on it. So what they should do is have a basket, put the phone down. When they come into the house, they're home, they don't need to talk to anybody else. And we really have to monitor it because it's really a problem. And what I find is that self-esteem and everything goes down because kids, especially girls, are so mean.
Yes, they are.
Well, I can't say what I really want to say because we're on Facebook. Hi, employees. No, but seriously, I can remember reading under the covers with a flashlight when I was growing up, and that was many, many years ago. And at our place, hi, Washell. Excuse me. We have babies that can come and work with us from the time they're a month old until we tell them they can't come back anymore. But I've watched their moms and how they allow them to be on their phones. And it's like, oh my God, they cry. And then of course I try to suggest that they don't do that, but even if they don't do it until I leave the area where the child is, I know they're gonna let them do that. And I'm really worried. I don't know of any research in response to your question. I don't know of any research that relates to our kids. And so if you know of any that's being done, I would suggest you participate, because that's the real issue, is that there's a lot of research out there, but it just doesn't apply to us because we are still talking about Tuskegee.
And to that point, we are at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. So if anybody's interested in doing those projects, I remember in graduate school that was a big issue, that it's hard to find research because we don't continue on with school, unfortunately. I mean, we just get comfortable with where we are, but ideally, if I could research, I would just research away, because on the flip side, I think media is very powerful. And it's, okay, I understand. But on the flip side, media is very, it works in our favor as well, but I think with anything, if you overconsume anything, it's gonna, if you overeat, if you have too much media, and if you expose, it's the reason why it's a 21 drinking age. So if it's 8, then maybe we should be mindful. And I'm very guilty of, in church, I'll, plug in really quickly, just to kind of.
I was recently at a addictions conference, and a professor from the University of Wisconsin talked about addiction as a disease of connectedness, and really makes you think about how it's connected from people, disconnected from people, family, and how they become connected to a drug. And if you think about social media and that disconnectedness, I think it just really speaks to remind people of the importance of touch and hugs and face-to-face and telling people you're wonderful, or even if you tell people you're not so wonderful, at least you're talking to them. And there's no substitute for touch and really connecting face-to-face.
So, last words, again, thank you to all of my panel guests and for you all for staying a little after the time. We do appreciate that again. We want to keep these conversations going. This is the first time that we went Facebook Live using that technology to work in our favor, but we got some great comments. Obviously, we can't address them in the amount of time that we have right now, but these are conversations that we definitely want to keep going. So how can we get in touch with you all? If you could share that with the viewing audience as well as the audience, how we can get in touch with you in final words.
All right, I'll go first. So again, my name is Donna Stewart. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I work at Boys Town in our community offices. I'm located in North Omaha and South Omaha. To get in touch with me, you can call the office. If anybody has paper and pencil, the number is 402-5, that's my cell phone. 402-996-2540, or you can reach me by email at Donna, that's Donna.Stewart, STEWART @boystown.org or org. Final words that I would say is I promote and push just self-care. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, and taking care of yourself, acknowledging and sharing and talking about when you need services, what you experience, because all humans, we all experience mental health issues at some point or another. It's very common. We just don't talk about it, and therefore there's a stigma. To help break that stigma, we have to acknowledge the things that we struggle with and where we get help, so that others can see that they're not alone and that they too can get help if you get help. So take care of yourself and don't be ashamed to talk about it.
Well, it was a privilege to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. I want to say that the mental health system is broken. We need to have a way that if a family, an individual, even a passerby is in a crisis, we need to have somebody that they can call, or we can call. Not 911, not 211, but some other number. Because I've heard people say, well, you can go on this website. That means you gotta have a computer. I was attacked verbally by a guy. I only had my broom. I was trying to wipe snow off my car. And he came down the street acting crazy, calling me names because he thought I called the police on him because his car was parked illegally. I didn't know him, I didn't know his car. And I really thought somebody needs to help this guy. But anyway, but that's a true story. But we really need to figure out where the money is coming from, because there's public money that comes into Douglas County. Who's getting that money and what are they doing for us? And when I say us, I mean collaboratively, those who are in this room. And I also want to say to Noise, I appreciate that article on solitary confinement. That was very well done, and we need to talk about that.
I would echo thank you for allowing me to be here. My email is drjanet5@gmail. My cell phone number is 914-953-7131. I don't know a lot of therapists in Omaha, but are there any therapists here?
Oh, you guys need to get a list of all these folks,
Right.
and have it someplace central so that that people can use it as a resource.
I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but.
I think it's really an easy transition.
Yeah, so I'd say any therapist here, make sure that the 100 Black women have your information, and then they can post it so that people have access to resources. There's also a course, I think, mental health first aid. that is for lay people. I haven't taken it, but I know lots of people who have taken it, and it's very helpful, and it informs you about, more than informs you about mental health, which can enable you to help yourself and also other people. When you have girlfriends who or men who call who have issues, if you're not a therapist, you need to refer them to someone who is. And that mental health first aid can let you know when those levels are. But I would say educate yourself, because our mental health is everything. It really is. And yes, we're a body, but our brains can help us in so many ways. So understand that, and I didn't talk about this, but dementia is secondary to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, and it's really affecting us as a Black community. And so when we take care of our body and we're healthier, it keeps our brains healthy. And our brain needs oxygen, glucose, not to be damaged too much by alcohol and other drugs. And really, it can serve us for a long, long time.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely been an honor to be here, and this has been well put together. Y'all did a very good job of putting it together, so it's been really smooth and good to participate. I can be reached on Facebook, Larry Duncan in Omaha, Nebraska. I got 5 more slots, friendship slots available.
He only had 5 followers, period.
It's probably the quickest way to reach me. I'm presently at our Charles Drew Health Center, and the number there, I just got there, 402-457-1224, and you can call me there. The thing that I think has been highlighted for me, and will be last words, is kind of a combination of what everybody's already shared. The whole idea of wellness and coming into the healthcare center clinic field, and this whole idea of integrated health has really been somewhat of an eye-opener to me, because I've been working in environments where we've been focusing on one thing. It's this or that or the other. But understanding how all this stuff is related, and as we as professionals being able to screen and help people to identify some of the things that are going on with them in terms of their nutrition, their blood pressure, their diabetes A1C levels, and screening for things like substance use disorder, that being aware of that and understanding that all these things are somewhat connected, and that I could be physically fit, and if I'm not taking care of my mental health, that's still going to be a problem. The other way around and vice versa, and something as simple as not having good oral health can impact the person greatly. So that's been something that is a new thing for me to be having an understanding of in my field, and so that all around wellness would be the last words that I have.
Larry Duncan, Janet Taylor, Polk, and Donna Stewart, thank you so much. Remember, the mind is the matter. Take that with you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, but the mind truly is the matter. Angel B.